Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is another relationship day. If you're seeing me for the first time, my name is Joy Ijoma Meribe. I'm a Nigerian, but I've been living in Italy since 2003. So today we're going to be talking about fake peace in marriage or in any relationship. I got married in Nigeria, and after 1 year of waiting for my documents to be ready, I joined my husband in Italy. He was already living in Italy before we met. So during the interval of time between when we got married and when I actually joined him in Italy, we were living apart. During that time, as a newly married woman, I really wanted to learn everything I could about marriage. It's not as if I didn't know anything about marriage before I joined my husband, but that was a time for me to really grow, improve myself. So I went to a marriage conference, and usually that pastor, I enjoyed his teachings on marriage, on relationships between husband and wife. But on that particular day, something happened. During the question and answer sessions, somebody asked a question: is it okay for a woman to disobey her husband and continue working after marriage if her husband told her to resign her job? But that is not what we're going to treat today because that one is another long video on its own. But the one I want to talk about today is another question from another person. In fact, these two questions stood out for me because I wasn't satisfied with the replies. A woman said her husband did something wrong that offended her, and he wouldn't apologize for it. And instead of apologizing for it, while she was angry, the husband refused to talk to her. And they've been in the same house, not talking to each other for some days. And this couple, because whatever I treat on this channel, I talk about it from the Christian perspective. So this couple are Christians. And when this woman asked this question on how to go about the matter, the pastor's wife, who was conducting the marriage conference, said, well, the only thing I have to tell you in this matter is to go home and beg your husband, whether he is right or he is wrong. Just beg him for peace to reign in your marriage. I turned over and looked at that woman. I felt her pain. She just sat down feeling deflated. That was when I raised my hand. I didn't have a question. I had a remark on the answer that was given to that woman, but they thought I had a question. When it got to my turn and they signaled me to ask my own question, that was when I stood up, I said, I don't have any question, but I want to comment on the answer that was given to that other woman. And I was about the only woman who came to that conference without her husband. My husband was not around. I wasn't going to meet an opportunity to go to a marriage conference. So I went alone. I told them I wasn't satisfied with the answer that was given to that woman. And if they wanted to hear all the details, maybe they should have called them aside. What type of marriage conference is it that a woman complains about something? The only thing she is told is to go home and beg her husband, apologize to her husband, whether she is right or wrong. If the woman did anything to hurt or offend her husband, of course, she should apologize to him. And that should go both ways. So in a Christian marriage conference, telling a woman who just complained to you what her husband did, and the only thing she was told was to go home and beg her husband, what kind of answer is that? What kind of solution is that? And during the conversation, after I aired my opinion, somebody said, in our culture, men are always right. And that was a Christian marriage conference. And you are bringing in your culture where men are always right. A lot of people agreed with him. Sometimes people say, as a Christian woman, whatever happens in your marriage, whether you're right or wrong, for the sake of peace, for peace to reign in your marriage, apologize to your husband and let it go. As human beings, at some point, We have to let certain things go. But in a marriage where you are advising two Christians and you tell the woman what a Christian woman should do, that man, is he not also a Christian? What even prompted me to dig up this thing that happened so many years ago was somebody was telling me how she had issues with her husband, then went to their pastor. After narrating everything that happened between the husband and wife, their pastor told the woman, for the sake of peace, just go home and apologize to your husband. Let it all go, even though he's wrong. Men don't like to apologize, because of their ego. And these are Christians, both of them. So why is it always so easy to tell a Christian woman how a Christian woman should behave? And the Christian man, his ego is justified. Culture is brought into it. When some of these people start teaching about humility in marriage, it's as if it's just for the woman. And one thing I wonder is this: if we are joint heirs to the kingdom of God, why is it that when these things happen, why don't you teach the men the same humility you are teaching the woman? Everybody has ego, not just men. Women have ego too. It's just that we have been so raised to put ours by the side. It doesn't matter. Nobody talks about the woman's ego. It's always about the man's ego. I know a lot of women who find it very hard to apologize to their spouses when they are wrong. Even me, I'm not better. But over the years, I have learned, I have grown. I try as much as possible when I agree that I'm wrong. When I agree that I'm wrong, to apologize. Even in the heat of an argument, if my husband says something that gets me, girl, you did that, I would stop and apologize. I would acknowledge at least that was wrong. Early on in our marriage, I didn't know how to apologize to him. We were just two people who wouldn't apologize to each other. But over the years, we are learning. So we all have ego, both men and women. It's just that women have been conditioned so much to believe that it's okay to be humiliated. You're a woman. You can take it. His ego is always the excuse. People are acting out, behaving badly to the women they took before the Lord to marry. And when it's time to talk sense into them, you justify their actions with their ego. Nobody's ego should come before their common sense, both men and women. Advising a woman to take all sorts of humiliation and maltreatment for the sake of peace in the home, it's counterproductive. You might think you are winning as a man, but that woman, the day she would blow up, you wouldn't know what hit you. A woman who has been conditioned to live like that is not emotionally or psychologically sound. She ends up letting out her frustrations elsewhere, on her kids, on her helps, on her subordinates at work, even people she doesn't know, because she has so repressed her feelings at home for the sake of peace. And then she goes out and she acts out. And some people, when they are hurting, they hurt people. They intentionally seek out people to hurt back, even when you are not the cause of their pain. Some of them go about being bitter and nasty to people because they are carrying their own bitterness around inside of them. Respect is a two-way thing. It is reciprocal, and no one deserves it more than the other. When you think you're winning by using intimidation tactics on your wife, you are creating a monster, and you better be ready to live with that monster. Because at some point, that woman is going to say enough is enough. It could take years, and your children are going to be there seeing it all. And you are so used to your ways that even when she says enough is enough, it's so hard for you to change. And then trouble starts. If we are all children of God, we should see each other as God's gift to us. My husband is God's gift to me. I am God's gift to him. And it hurts me to hurt him. And apart from the sentimental angle, as God's gift to me. I worship God through him, through the way I treat him. And it should be the same way for him too towards me. It's like giving somebody a gift and then you go to that person's house and you see his children or whoever kicking that gift around, treating it like it's worthless. How would you feel? Do you imagine how God could be feeling that you are treating his child? The Bible describes us as the apples of God's eye. So imagine how he feels when you are treating the apple of his eye like that. Have you ever thought about it in this angle? I believe in marriage, we learn about ourselves. I had to learn about myself in marriage. I had to know some parts of my character that could cause conflict. Because when you are just you think you are okay, you think everything is okay. But the moment you start living with someone else, you realize how some parts of your character could cause friction. And we have to humbly look at ourselves. And wherever we are not doing well, we try to improve. No human being should think that they are okay the way they are, and if anybody has anything to say about it, it's their business. We all need constant improvement as long as we are still living, at whatever age. If you decide within you, I'm okay the way I am, I do not need any improvement, then that is arrogance. We will continually be work in progress. So when you feel that because you are the man in a relationship, it is beneath you to apologize for your own wrongdoing, that is wrong as human beings, much less as Christians. Because whatever we profess as Christians, charity begins at home. We have to start it at home. And if your wife is nurturing bitterness over years of constant swallowing of anger, of whatever it is her feelings are, that is really counterproductive. I have seen a man who did all that to his wife, and he was also philandering that his wife knew about it. And then one day he fell. He had stroke. All the girlfriends, they were not there in the hospital with him. The side chicks, nobody came to the hospital to take care of him. And of course, it's obvious who was going to be there to take care of him. That same woman that in all those years had all that resentment inside of her for him. So imagine how he would be taken care of. Imagine the monster he created, how he's now going to deal with that monster. And of course, he depended on her for everything. And this woman would tell me continually, I am struggling within myself to forgive this man. I know as a Christian I should do this, as I should do that, but it's not easy. Because this man, until he fell and became bedridden, his arrogance was on a different level. And now he fell at the feet of this woman. And right now he is completely dependent on his wife. And for that woman, every day is a constant struggle. Because it's one thing to lovingly take care of a dear person, but having to take care of someone who has abused you emotionally and psychologically over the years, it's hard. No matter how spirit-filled you are, it is hard. I remember when my father was sick, it got to a point that he couldn't do normal everyday things by himself. He depended on us and my mother, mostly my mother, to do a lot of things. And that was when I realized what for better or worse is. I realized the meaning of in sickness and in health. That is not just for mere fever, headache, or whatever. The sickness is that type of sickness that sometimes you don't even believe it would ever happen to you. And I'm not wishing that on anybody. But there are situations in life, power changes hands. And when you have made a woman to think that whoever wields the power at any given time uses it at his or her own advantage, then you reap what you sow. Sometimes when you go through things later in life, you think, she has changed. She did not change. She was waiting for her opportunity. You made her believe that whoever pays the piper dictates the tune, right? Well, marriage is easy. Marriage is tough at the same time. So we really have to be careful. And you don't even have to be good to people because you are expecting that when you are down, they are going to hold you up. You just do it because it is right. How much more somebody you say you love? And one thing about some pastors or some Christians citing the culture, men are never wrong. A lot of things we learned, we need to unlearn them. So when it's convenient, you bring culture into church, and when it's not convenient, you take it away at your own pleasure. And a lot of us know that most African cultures, when it comes to the relationship between a man and a woman, is always for the subjugation of the woman. And then in church, when it's convenient for you, you bring in the culture, right? Even sometimes, the way I hear a lot of Christian men singing submission, 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 they have taken it completely out of context. They don't even remember the other portion of the Bible where it says that we submit to each other. A lot of people have misinterpreted submission to mean subjugation. That is not what it is. And I don't even want to go into that right now because that should be another video on its own. So hurting and offending a woman, and you think it's right for you to use your ego as an excuse to refuse to apologize or make amends. The humility and the meekness the Bible talks about is not gender specific. When the Bible talks, it talks to all of us. And some of you say, if you're not even submissive to Christ, but mere human beings, you are asking for a total submission from a fellow human being like you. If only we will see each other as joint heirs to the kingdom of God, as precious gifts from God to us, a lot of marriages would be happy. So people attend some marriage conferences thinking that they would come back with their marriage healed and maybe acquire resources to work on their relationship, and they come back beaten down completely. It's not supposed to be so. I've said it before in another video. When you go to church or any Christian gathering, do not leave your common sense at home. Do not leave your discerning spirit at home. If there is anything you do not understand or you do not agree with, be bold enough to say it and open up a conversation. Some people come out and tell you what they think on certain issues, or maybe what they think the popular opinion is, and not actually the word of God on certain matters. And by the way, your pastor is not your marriage counselor. Stop taking everything to him. A lot of pastors are trying to figure out their own marriages. A lot of our pastors need marriage counseling too, just as we need it. And to pastors, you cannot be everything for your church members. You are a human being. Instead of forcing yourself to say something or give a solution at every problem, it is better to not say anything and admit that you don't know what to say than to end up damaging someone. If you have to organize these seminars and conferences on marriage and relationship to help your members, help them work on their relationships as couples, at least do the right thing by inviting professionals. There are so many professional Christian relationship experts. There are so many professional Christian counselors you could invite. And they actually study for these things. And you can at least, in that moment, sit down as every member and learn a thing or two. Because nobody can tell you they have it all figured out. As long as you are still alive as humans, you will continue working on your relationships. It's obvious that older people, elderly people, people who have spent more years in marriage, they are at a certain point of getting it all together. For example, the stage I was 1 year, 2 years into my marriage is not the stage I am right now. Our style of argument is different. This is the kind of wisdom that has come over the years, but that doesn't mean that we have it all figured out. Because once in a while we'll get into it. But to the glory of God, we continue growing. We are open to growth. We have come to the end of this video today, and I hope you have learned a thing or two. And if you have any suggestion, any question, or any topic you want me to talk about, please write it in the comment section. I know that no one person knows it all, so your suggestions and your inputs are welcome. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe if at this point you have not subscribed. Remember to subscribe. Thank you, and God bless you.